Blockstars, Ripple's podcast that features leaders and developers in crypto and blockchain to discuss the latest trends, technologies, and real-world problems being solved. I'm your host, Ripple CTO David Schwartz. In this exciting episode, we're going to explore the world of programmability in a multi-chain environment. We'll be discussing the EVM Sidechain for the XRP Ledger, a fast and secure blockchain that opens up a world of possibilities for the XRP Ledger community. Joining me for this episode is Ferran and Adria from Peersyst, who has played a pivotal role in developing this EVM sidechain. Welcome to Blockstars. It's fantastic to have you two here.
Hey, David. Thanks for the invitation. It's an absolute pleasure to be part of this emblematic podcast and be able to present the EVM sidechain. Well, together with me, it's Adria, the CTO of Pieres, that will help answer the most tough and most important questions by the community. I will be trying to ask some of the questions that can be more generalistic for the general public. So, pleasure to be here, and we are ready to get started.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big pleasure to be here, David, and talk to you as one of the brightest minds in the ecosystem. So I'm very happy to be here with you and happy to solve any more technical questions that we may be talking about.
Thanks. So let's start just by telling us a little bit about Peersyst, just for people who have no idea who you guys are.
Yeah, sure. So, Peersyst is a company born in Spain. We started in the blockchain ecosystem around 2016. So it's been a couple of years now. And we started contributing to different protocols before starting contributing to XRP Ledger. One of these protocols we get huge experience with was actually a very similar protocol, one of the first proof of stake, that had a set of pre-built features, such as the XRPL, where you can build and play logic on top of that. So thanks to that, and after building a couple of successful projects there, we've been looking on how to expand and to contribute to other ecosystems. And we've seen the XRP Ledger, a technology that was quite similar, where you have a set of pre-built features where you can play with and leverage solutions in a very fast and secure and cheaper way. This is how we get started to contribute. In 2021, we started with the Colombian Land Registry, with the government of Colombia. This was a major success. And from that point, we've been engaging until this project that we hope it's going to be even a bigger success, which is the EVM sidechain.
So let's talk about the EVM sidechain. So this is a bridge between the XRP Ledger and the Ethereum ecosystem. Before we get into the details, let's explain to our listeners, what is an EVM-compatible XRP Ledger sidechain? What does it do?
Well, an EVM-compatible sidechain, basically, it's, as its name says, it's a sidechain. It's a familiar chain together with the main one, which maintains very important similarities, such as the token. For example, XRP is still the native currency. We have a very similar consensus mechanism. We have very similar parameters, such as block time, transactions per second, transactions fees, etc. So the idea is to give the feeling of you can leverage the same type of projects and technologies within the XRP ecosystem, but extending its functionalities to a very specific use case. In our case, this extended functionality is the EVM compatibility, the Ethereum Virtual Machine, which is a standard on how you can understand and compile Ethereum-based smart contracts. So the idea of this then EVM sidechain is to extend the capabilities of the main XRP ledger to make XRP an asset that can be used to deploy and to integrate and to be consumed to interact with some of the most popular EVM smart contracts out in the ecosystem, while maintaining the resistance, the volume, the liquidity, and all the important things that made XRP being one of the most important tokens of our time.
Yeah, it's also a very interesting solution for scalability, because instead of adding all the features into the XRPL main chain, you can keep separate side chains that build specific features instead of putting everything all together into the main chain and allowing the main chain to stay the most secure and reliable chain, and having these separate side chains where you can add and provide this extra functionality that increases scalability quite in a big factor.
So let's talk about some of the nuts and bolts. The EVM sidechain uses a proof of authority consensus algorithm, which is the same type of consensus algorithm the XRP Ledger uses, where validators, the nodes that participate in the consensus algorithm, get their right to participate in the consensus algorithm from having some cryptographic identity that's been accepted as the set of validators for the chain. How does that affect and contribute to the security and functionality of the EVM sidechain? Why is that the right choice?
So, as you said, the POA or the proof of authority is maybe a new concept for the audience, and they may be asking, first of all, what's an authority, right? An authority is a distributed and democratic set of members that have shared interests in the chain running the consensus. So those members of the authority can be, for example, project builders, well-known community members, stakeholders, foundations, decentralized autonomous organizations, and many more. The authority is also democratic, since any change must be voted and approved by the majority of the members. This means that any participant in the chain, either if it's part of the authority or not, which is a little bit more different that we have on the XRPL main chain, can raise a proposal to present or revoke a member from the authority, from the current authority. This proposal is then reviewed by all the members in the current authority, and they can submit their vote. If the majority of the votes agrees on a decision, the proposal passes and the action of adding or removal happens. Very simple and democratic organization, let's say. Also, each member of the authority has the responsibility of maintaining their own validator that will be constantly signing new blocks. They have the responsibility also to behave correctly because they are being audited by all the members of the chain. Since the chain is a public blockchain, everyone can see how a validator is performing. If it's misbehaving, then probably some members of the chain will raise a concern about it, and suddenly the validator will be removed. In contrary, also, if a new builder or a new member of the community brings new value to the chain, participants will want to add it, since it's becoming important and it's having more interests in this chain. This, for sure, and answering your question, creates a very secure environment that, in fact, as you said, it's very similar the UNLs that we have on our loved XRP ledger.
So let's get even a little bit more technical, and then I promise for our listeners we'll zoom back out. But so let's talk about the blocks, the way it sequence blocks, and the actual consensus mechanism it uses. I understand it's called Comet BFT. Can you tell us a little bit about why Comet BFT and what it is and why it's great?
Let's get technical then. Comet BFT is a Byzantine fault-tolerant engine that provides the state machine replication, or the consensus layer between different nodes. This is very important because new blockchains are splitting their importance, let's say, between the consensus layer and the execution layer. So the consensus layer is the layer in charge of doing this state machine replication. In other terms, ensuring that all the nodes that are connected to the network are in sync and the network is live and it's progressing, advancing blocks. This is what the Comet BFT is responsible of. It consists basically of two components, a blockchain consensus engine and a generic application interface. The consensus engine, it's based on the popular Tendermint, which was created quite a while ago and was a very interesting advance on the blockchain space. Basically, this consensus engine ensures that the same transactions are recorded in every machine in the same order. It's very simple, right? It does this state machine replication, ensuring that the transactions are recorded in the same order. The other component is the application interface, which is called the Application Blockchain Interface, or also known as ABCI. The responsibility of this component is to deliver transactions to applications for being processed. This application blockchain interface, basically, it's implemented by Cosmos SDK, which is one of the most popular frameworks in the blockchain space. And it allows new developers and new creators to create quite fast new blockchains from scratch. It provides a very modular architecture, which has also a set of modules that can be thought as plugins that can be added or removed from a chain in a quite easily way. One of these modules is the EVM module, which basically, when we plug it in our EVM sidechain, it provides us this EVM compatibility to our chain. Basically, what this means is that all the transactions and smart contracts that work in other EVM-based chains, like Ethereum or Polygon, are fully supported by us. This brings us quite a good key features. In fact, Comet BFT has a very strong performance and can go up to 1K TPS together with the EVM module and so on. It has also one block fast finality time, quite similar to what has XRP Ledger. And it also has very low latency, approximate block time for about 3 or 5 seconds.
Let's talk about a key differentiator of this particular EVM sidechain versus other EVM sidechains. One key one is the direct connection to the XRP ledger through the Crosschain Bridge. What does that do and why is that important?
The XRPL Bridge in the EVM sidechain, we have to think it as an implementation of the standard that is proposed in the XLS 38D, and it was proposed by Mayuka and Scott. So we have basically implemented this set of transactions that's introduced on the standard in a form of a smart contract using Solidity. In the middle of these chains, we have these witness servers that are basically components that are listening on both chains and attesting what they see. So, for example, if one person commits one transaction, the witness server attests that he have seen this commitment into one chain, but it attests that on the destination chain, on the other chain. So they're basically attesting what they see. Once a quorum of attestations is met, as proposed on the amendment, a cross-chain transfer is done and the funds are transferred in the other side. This makes a very secure protocol. And one of the most things that I like of this protocol is its simplicity and its robustness. Because in terms of design, the protocol is very, very simple, right? We introduce a set of transactions which are countable by one hand almost. And we have one component that's broadcasting what it's seeing on the other side. Then the quorum is happening automatically on the protocol itself and makes the scenario more simple and very robust. The security also gets increased, which is one of the key factors of a breach, with a strong set of witnesses. Having a higher quorum means that the breach is more secure, since more entities have to agree into one event or one commitment.
For those that might be new to the EVM environment, what are the steps to interacting with it, to create an account? What wallets can they use?
I think that this one is for me. To get started with the EVM chain, it's getting easier and easier. One of the first steps we highly recommend is to install MetaMask. Actually, you need an EVM compatible wallet, but the most popular choice, I think by far, it's MetaMask. So MetaMask can be found as a Chrome extension or any browser extension, and also for mobile. So once you have MetaMask, you will be able to receive XRP on the EVM sidechain. So the next step is to get the XRPs there. If you want to live the full experience, you can go to the bridge, which is the bridge.devnet.xrpl.org. You can create an account there on the faucet and transfer the XRPs to your MetaMask. But if you want to take the fastest way, I already seen during this week a couple of people that it's implementing faucets directly on the EVM. So you just basically download MetaMask, connect the chain, and claim XRPs. So for newcomers, the start should be quite easy.
So for people who are familiar with the EVM ecosystem and have interacted with other chains, the experience should be pretty similar for them, pretty much what they expect.
Yeah, 100%.
Awesome. So we're going to try something different. We're going to answer questions from our listeners. In case you missed it, the conversation is tweeting at RippleXDev, RippleXDev, and we'll answer questions on the podcast. So let's see, what did the community want to know about the EVM sidechain? Our first question is from Panos at PanosMech. Will the EVM sidechain have a native token or use an XRP IOU for fees? How will the whole process work? And second question, XRP staking has been mentioned in the past. Does this stand, or will the sidechain use the same validator model consensus as the mainnet? I think we answered the second one pretty much, but you can add some comments to that. And first one about what will it use for fees?
So the first question, it's quite easy. Basically, XRP will be the native currency, actually will be the bridged XRP. So in order to make this work, there is this smart contract, which is on the Genesis block of the EVM, which generates these XRPs. And then these XRPs are the ones being used as a native currency to pay the fees for the smart contracts, deployment, etc. For the second one, that it's very interesting as well, XRP staking. Well, as we already mentioned it, there is no staking on this EVM in terms of the traditional staking we all think. Because basically, as it's a sidechain, we cannot increase the supply of XRP. So basically, there is no more XRP that can be generated or an inflation part of it. So in terms of then validators just weighting their votes or staking their votes, as Adria mentioned, we have this proof of authority for many reasons. The first and the most important is to be very similar of the main chain, but also in terms of security. When you launch a chain from a chain which is so much big and popular as XRP, there is some risks on launching a proof of stake because there is some 51% attack risk if someone bridges too much stake in the very start. Whether than in the proof of authority, if you have an authority at start which is trusted parties that can maintain this consensus, then they can keep decentralizing it in a very secure way, which is what we are going to do.
Thanks. Next question from @IamWeUnited. What benefits does a sidechain bring to the XRP ledger, especially in terms of EVM compatibility? We talked about that a little bit. We can address it directly. And two, what use cases or applications are expected to benefit the most from this integration? Interesting question.
Well, on the first one, as you mentioned, we already talked about this. I think that the benefits in terms of EVM compatibility, it's all of it. So we will be fully EVM compatible, or at least it opens the door for all this. I think that the main point here, it was made by Adria, it was about the scalability. So in order to scale XRPL, in order to have this EVM compatibility, having this horizontal scalability with other chains looks like one of the best options right now. So yeah, I think that's the main benefit. In terms of use cases, so why do we need this parent sidechain or this EVM sidechain? Most of the use cases specifically related to payments or to very secure, already written functionality with the XRPL mainnet and amendments, it's far better to make it there. It has more than 10 years been on mainnet, and it's a lifetime. It's something very, very important for a blockchain. So the main reason to do that is for different applications. So for example, gaming, metaverse, or even some DeFi protocols, all this kind of application that requires a little bit more of custom logic on chain that can be very verifiable and transparent. Then it's important that we have a place to put all this. XRPL can have it through amendments, but it's a more complex process in terms of scalability, and smart contracts can be a very cheap and fast way to bring these things on chain while being on the XRPL ecosystem.
For example, you could build an XRP collateralized stablecoin very quickly on the sidechain, whereas building it on the main chain would be very complicated, and you'd have to get a consensus that it's a benefit to the ecosystem as a whole, whereas it might just be useful for something you're doing.
Yeah, that's a perfect example.
It's a big advantage that on the EVM sidechain, you can build something because it's useful to you, whereas on the XRP Ledger, you have to convince people that it's useful to the ecosystem as a whole. It's a different set of trade-offs, has different advantages and different disadvantages, plays different use cases. Our last listener question is from the Denarian at MAW34984. How is the community responding to the introduction of EVM compatibility? Are there any notable projects or partnerships that have already embraced the integration? And how seamless is the interaction between XRP Ledger sidechain and the Ethereum ecosystem?
Well, in terms of community responding to the introduction, I think we don't have a very extensive experience on the XRPL, but at least for our feelings, looks like it's the project that has been more well received. It looks like it's a feature that has been very long awaited, and people it's really excited for it. There's already a very big number of projects building and contributing to the protocol, even in DevNet stages. Also, what we hear from feedback from hackathons and stuff looks like there is a lot of engagement. So hopefully, as we get closer to mainnet, people will be more and more engaged. So for this part, we are very happy. In terms of projects, partnerships, already embracing this integration, although I cannot provide many names yet, and most of them I don't know because we are mostly on the tech side, I'm well aware of some other protocols that are already interested or testing the technology. So hopefully the results are good and they are going to launch on the early stages of mainnet. But I cannot provide any name right now which is relevant to the public. And in terms of interaction between our sidechain and the other Ethereum chains, I think the door is open here, and I want to be very clear. Everything requires time. So even the chain, it's public, and the possibilities are limitless in this part. In order to have this interaction of building bridges to all the other chains, to have all these protocols having compatibility with the EVM sidechain as well, it's not only that needs to be technically possible, which will be right now, but also requires some maturity of the ecosystem. So for example, many of the apps requires oracles, pretty stable oracles on the chain. Many centralized or decentralized apps require some integration also with the protocol itself. So there is many things that over the time will be leveraged and deployed. In terms of technical capabilities, I think that we can reach the same level of interoperability with other Ethereum ecosystems that any other EVM chain has, but it's important to notice that it will take some time until all these things are getting on place.
Well, thank you all for the insightful questions. Keep them coming. Who knows? Maybe your question will be featured in our next episode. So we have a sort of tradition of torturing our guests with their last question. We make them look into a crystal ball. Most people don't like to do that, especially in our business, because the future is so uncertain. But I'm going to make you look into your crystal ball, and I'd like to ask you about the future of programmability in the multi-chain world, what you think we're going to see about the impact of EVM-compatible sidechains, what you're excited to see in the future, and what you think about the broader blockchain community.
from my part, at least, what I can say so far is we've seen a very similar movement from some of the top chains, such as Cardano, Solana. So it looks like there is some background history and success around that, which I think it's important. It's something that the XRPL community has been waiting for. So hopefully it creates a good impact. And finally, in terms of approaching a broader blockchain community, I think it can be one of the biggest milestones or one of the most important milestones we will be able to do for that. When you look at the numbers, you have to see that, MetaMask, for example, has I think around 30 million monthly active users. There is hundreds of millions of users around all the blockchains. And right now we cannot approach all them through the XRP Ledger. So I think having this compatibility, at least if it succeeds, opens the door for most of these top D apps to launch as well on the XRPL, which I think will be very, very attractive since XRP is one of the most liquid volume and also right now US regulated cryptos around the world. So I think that will be very interesting. For developers as well, I think launching in a fresh new ecosystem can create very unique opportunities to approach not only the EVM users, so also the XRPL community, which is huge. So for me, looks like there is the door is open to a big change and to a big, broader approach of the technology. Hopefully, this is the case. But yeah, it's crystal ball, so we never know, right? Hopefully, Adria, if you want to add some words here.
Oh, he's got to look into his crystal ball too.
I completely agree with you, Ferran. I don't want to make any predictions because I think I would fail all of them.
Nobody does, but you got to. It's the rules.
I would say that the interoperability, it's some of the key things that's on the present and obviously will be on the future. All of the chains, most of the chains on the blockchain space are interoperable with others. So opening the doors to the XRPL, being connected to other protocols, all the main protocols, and other sidechains would be a huge step for the ledger and for the future of the community and all the ecosystem.
Adria, Ferran, thank you so much for joining me today. It was a pleasure hosting you.
Thank you very much, David. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you very much for the pleasure.
And thanks to all of you for tuning in to Ripple's podcast, Blockstars. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me on Twitter at JoelKatz, JoelKatz. And remember to follow at RippleXDev on Twitter to keep up with the latest industry news, technical updates, and cool new developer projects in the community. See you around the blockchain.